Beyond Britannia, Reshaping UK Foreign Policy. Written and read by Simon Mcdonald. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the skies serves but to root thy native oak. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. James Thomson, Rule Britannia, 1740. Preface. Before dispatch to the publisher, I showed the manuscript of my first book to 3 people. One expressed disappointment. He thought someone who had helped shape British foreign policy for almost 4 decades would have more to say about the UK's role on the world stage. This is the book George wanted me to write. At the risk of finding myself obliged to produce a 3rd book to satisfy someone else's view of what I should write about, I must admit some of what this book is not. It is not a blueprint. It is not comprehensive. It does not cover, for example, migration, terrorism, cyber threats, or pandemics. It does not embrace any ideology. Rather, it advocates a few detailed policy proposals. Grand strategic thinking is found more often among students of international relations than among foreign policy practitioners. No foreign secretary while I worked for the Foreign Office, 1982 to 2020, had an overarching vision. Their speeches set out immediate priorities or their response to the crisis of the day. Most policy thinking was short-term, responding to a developing problem or preparing for a particular meeting. Thinking was modest, practical, and collaborative. Politicians in opposition, contemplating the challenges they would like to tackle, are sometimes tempted to set out their vision, but, as Robin Cook discovered, with his pledge of foreign policy with an ethical dimension, such visions tend not to survive first contact with reality. While writing this book, I realized that my preferences for the UK's foreign policy were personal. Few people would agree, and some would disagree, with everything I suggested. Although I believe my ideas make a coherent whole, they do not need to be a package to make sense. They are a menu, aimed at the next British government, a government that will have a mandate for the rest of the 2020s. I studied history at university. I learned that, no matter what the challenge, understanding its history is key to making progress. I do not believe the UK can have a coherent foreign policy without a keen sense of its history. A sense of history is different from sentimentality about history. Many British commentators and politicians seem burdened by history, either regretful that the UK is not as powerful as it was, or pretending that we have preserved more power than is provably the case. My whole prescription rests on the knowledge that the UK is not as capable as it was. We can no longer impose our will on other countries. We can no longer fight a war on our own. We have less hard power than the US, China, and Russia, the only 3 countries that could contemplate extended conflict alone. The fact that the conflict which Russia started in Ukraine in 2014 is not going according to its plan is proof that even the small club that can contemplate conflict is better advised not to initiate it. For the UK, decisive hard power is a debilitating memory. But we do not need to be as potent as we used to be in traditional capabilities to make a difference. We have strengths in newer ways of demonstrating power, soft power. We can embrace that change. If we are enthusiastic about that embrace, we can discuss
Sample complete. Ready to continue?